galera do canal Fute Rápido, me chamo Julien e o vídeo de hoje será sobre os Brics. Então, Televisão Turca faz reportagem e debate sobre os Brics. E é exatamente isso que veremos hoje, mas já deixe seu like, inscreva-se no nosso canal para ajudar na divulgação e valeu!
The BRICS nations already hold more than 40% of the global population and almost a third of its economy. And now the bloc is set to more than double in size, adding Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Argentina, Iran, Ethiopia, and Egypt. It's considered an influential alliance for the so-called Global South and was built to be a counterweight to Western hegemony in trade and finance. Now, it founded the New Development Bank as an alternative to the Western-dominated IMF and World Bank. In fact, we'll speak to the NDB's chief financial officer later in the program. Today, though, some are questioning the bloc's real mandate. With so many members on ideologically different pages, we'll debate the state of the bloc in just a minute. But first, a look back at BRICS and its latest summit in Johannesburg.
Over 2 decades ago, a Goldman Sachs economist introduced the BRIC acronym for the emerging markets of Brazil, Russia, India, and China. In 2009, these countries formed an economic group, and with the addition of South Africa a year later, it became BRICS. It was seen as a challenge to the Western-centric financial entities, yet the years have questioned its effectiveness. But now, against the backdrop of the Ukraine war, China-US tensions, and global economic uncertainties, it's more popular than ever. The 15th BRICS summit kicked off in Johannesburg this week, with dozens of countries queuing up to join the bloc. And despite diverging opinions on the expansion, the leaders have agreed to welcome 6 new members.
We have decided to invite the Argentine Republic, the Arab Republic of Egypt, the Federal Democratic Republic of Ethiopia, the Islamic Republic of Iran, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, and the United Arab Emirates to become full members of BRICS.
China has long campaigned for the expansion. It believes adding new members will make BRICS a worthy rival to the G7, and the Global South's voice would be louder to challenge the Western hegemony.
The expansion is historic, reflecting the resolution of the BRICS countries to unite and cooperate with other developing countries, meeting the expectation of the international community and serves the common interest of emerging markets and developing countries.
And for Russia, the expansion would bring new friends to the table when it needs them the most. President Vladimir Putin didn't travel to Johannesburg due to an arrest warrant issued by the International Criminal Court. So he addressed the summit virtually.
Our actions in Ukraine are motivated by only one reason: to put an end to the war unleashed in Ukraine by the West and their satellites against the people who live in the Donbas region. We are grateful to our BRICS colleagues who actively participate in attempts to end this situation and reach a fair settlement by peaceful means.
Despite maintaining a good relationship with Russia and China, member states India, Brazil, and South Africa still see the West as an important trade and defense partner. Brazilian President Lula da Silva is also pushing for a common BRICS currency. He's repeatedly criticized the dollar's dominance and the global financial system. Russia also wants to dethrone the dollar, saying the US is weaponizing it through the sanctions.
The creation of a currency for trade and investment transactions between BRICS members increases our payment options and reduces our vulnerabilities.
With new members joining as of next year, the BRICS will hold 37% of the global GDP and 46% of the world's population. And it will add 3 of the world's top oil producers, Saudi Arabia, the UAE, and Iran. Yet, the new partners will also bring their own challenges to the group. Iran is under the US sanctions. Argentina and Egypt are in an economic crisis, while Ethiopia is facing an internal security turmoil. So, what the leaders celebrate as diversity may yet bring to the club more trouble and disorder.
So today, Brics is not just about the power of emerging economies, it's about political opposition to the West. But does that serve the interests of countries like India and Brazil, or simply embolden what some call China's increasingly anti-Western influence? Well, joining me now to debate that and more are from Beijing, Zhao Ying, a China commentator and host at CGTN Radio. From New Delhi, diplomatic affairs editor at The Hindu, Suhasini Haidar. And from Pretoria is Botseng Moiloa. He's an independent political analyst and former South African diplomat. Thanks all so much for being with me. So Hasini, let's start with you in India and look at expansion. You know, Delhi had not been a proponent of enlargement, but you actually did quote an Indian diplomat in a piece you wrote who said India should embrace the desire for multipolarity and see its benefits. That sounds great. But might that be a bit simplistic? Because a desire for multipolarity, for example, does not mean necessarily that it is practical. And expansion, as some fear, could simply dilute the power of India within Brics.
Well, I think there have been misgivings in India. And even though officially we have been told again and again that India does not oppose Brics expansion, the truth is that India has wanted a more measured approach. First, to look at all the criteria that Brics countries, and there are just 5 countries, can agree on for the expansion, and perhaps not to have as rapid an expansion as we have seen in this past week. Of course, India is on board with it because each of the countries are countries that India has good ties with. But the idea that an organization like Brics of just 5 members has doubled and more overnight, become 11 members, does give you some pause for reflection. And remember, this is just the first phase of the expansion. So there have been some misgivings in India, and also not so well articulated. The misgivings have been that if it is a China-dominated expansion, as in China brings in its nominees, then will India have to lobby harder to have its voice heard in this grouping, which has been seen as basically an equal grouping of emerging economies? So I think that's where some of the misgivings lie, but there is no question that you're looking at an unprecedented rush to join a group that has often been derided in the West. You know, it was called the rise of the rest. It was called the Brics in the wall became the chinks in the wall. The idea that the Brics were really collapsing economies at one point. So we've seen a lot of derision. I saw an article just last week that said instead of expanding, the Brics should be disbanding. Now, when you think about the idea that there is a G7, which is really a cozy club of 7 countries of the global north that has not bothered to expand, then I think the Brics is showing by this move that it is possible to remain cohesive and to bring on, and be inclusive as well. And that will be the big challenge, to show that cohesion in the year ahead.
Yeah, it will be a big challenge, to say it lightly. Zhao Ying, let me ask you, there are those who feel that India's reluctance, for example, is rooted in that fear that China wants to turn Brics into, a mechanism to impose its own global vision, and that the rhetoric, especially coming from Beijing, will return the world to, some frightening Cold War-style dynamics. How does China then reassure, a member like India, that it doesn't want to exchange U.S. hegemony, for example, for Chinese hegemony?
Well, India and China shouldn't see each other as rivals in Brics, because, although Modi has said that he wants to make India a leader of the global South, but countries should be encouraged to play a leadership role in helping promoting a more equal and, multipolar world, right? So I think India and China should maybe they can collaborate with each other within the bloc. For instance, India has good relations with the West, and China has much to offer in its experiences in poverty alleviation and things like that. So I think the two countries can actually cooperate in helping promoting a more equal and multipolar world. And I want to make it clear that there's a difference between challenging the West and challenging Western hegemony. So China or other developing countries have no intention to challenge the US or other Western developed countries or block their development, and neither do they have intentions to reshape the international order, if the international order means the UN Charter and the international law. So what China and other countries of the global South are looking for is a more just and equitable international order with more voices or input from the developing world, rather than what the US often call rule-based international order, which is essentially American-led international order based on the rules set by the US. And I think President Xi has made it very clear that at the summit that China is against Cold War mentality and zero-sum game. So, this is. Yeah.
But he has said some fairly provocative things, to be fair. But so let's turn now to the BRICS' own financial institution, the New Development Bank in Shanghai. Bank president and former Brazilian president Dilma Rousseff says the NDB should become an institution made by developing countries for themselves. So, with plans to increase lending in rand, rupees, and reais, as well as add new members, will the bank create more wealth and opportunities, or more challenges? Well, joining me now to help answer that is the NDB's Chief Financial Officer and Vice President, Leslie Mostorp. Thanks so much for being with us, Leslie. You know, as a bank, you're already dealing with members whose economies are struggling, some facing actually severe sanctions like Russia, and now soon maybe Iran. You've got struggling, some would say actually tanking currencies, including Egypt. Others seem to be on an endless kind of roller coaster of boom and bust, like Brazil. And then you're looking at Ethiopia joining, who many consider just in a state of civil war. How does the NDB function in an environment like that? And could more members potentially create more instability?
Thanks for having me, Andrea. The first point to make is that it's very important to distinguish between BRICS as a bloc, if you like, and the institution, New Development Bank, which BRICS have created. Our shareholders are all the BRICS countries. However, the New Development Bank is a financial institution with a legal persona that issues bonds in the capital markets, that operates within financial regulatory frameworks like the London Stock Exchange, where our global bond program is located. The second point to make is that membership of BRICS does not necessarily equate to membership of the bank. So, for example, Bangladesh is a member of the New Development Bank. Egypt is. United Arab Emirates has been a member for the last 2 years. Yet UAE and Egypt only just joined as of yesterday, or they will be from the 1st of January 2024. So it's important to therefore say that the other countries that have joined the BRICS bloc yesterday are not necessarily members of the New Development Bank.
Do you think they will be?
Point to make,
because they're expecting to be.
It is a very different process. They have not triggered applications to the bank, so it will be pure speculation for me to say that they are indeed interested. They express an interest to join BRICS, which they have done. Second point to make is that we are a financial institution in the business of financing sustainable infrastructure. We build the roads and the bridges and the ports and all the battery energy storage and all the infrastructure our countries need to propel their economic growth. So we play a role in aiding that economic growth process. You have correctly now signaled that a number of countries are going through challenges. That is exactly where a bank like ours and other multilateral banks step in, because we are counter-cyclical lenders. When countries go through crisis, that's when we sort of flourish. Give you an example. During COVID, our institution, which did not create 7-8 years ago, provided $10 billion of financial support in emergency COVID response loans to the BRICS countries. In short, I would say, Andrea, that yesterday was an historic moment in the sense that BRICS have moved from a bloc of 5 countries to 11. The bank now will become as it accelerates membership expansion, will become a bigger global enterprise because we will have fresh capital injected into the bank when new members indeed join.
Então, achei esse vídeo extremamente esclarecedor. Achei que a âncora não é muito simpática essa ideia dos BRICS. Ou pelo menos ela estava fazendo esse papel de contestar e de dar uma provocada na discussão. Achei extremamente interessante. Quando vocês olham essa palavra tijolos, deixando claro, é BRICS, é porque o tradutor do YouTube dá uma pequena bugadinha, ele traduz de forma literal. Mas é isso, deixe seu like, inscreva-se no nosso canal para ajudar na divulgação e valeu!